The US government has shut down for the first time in nearly 7 years after a deadline to extend federal funding expired at midnight. Republicans and Democrats are trading blame over a spending bill that failed to pass in Congress. Hundreds of thousands of workers face a pay suspension and non-essential services are already disrupted.
Tuesday's funding deal deadline passed with a deadlock.
The 60-vote threshold having not been achieved, the bill upon reconsideration is not passed.
The failed vote triggered a government shutdown after a last-ditch effort by Democrats to convince Republicans to extend expiring healthcare subsidies, sending insurance costs soaring. Republicans have refused to negotiate. Both sides are locked in a blame game.
We simply asked Democrats to extend existing funding levels to allow the Senate to continue the bipartisan appropriations work that we started. And Senate Democrats said no. Why? Because far-left interest groups and far-left Democrat members wanted a showdown with the president.
Now, why do we care so much about them negotiating with us? It's not a point of pride. It's because Americans are hurting with higher costs throughout the country.
The funding impasse will halt non-essential government work. Vital functions like the postal service, the military, and welfare programs like Social Security and food stamps won't be affected. But the Environmental Protection Agency, Food and Drug Administration, Federal Trade Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission likely will be. While every government shutdown differs, the last one, also under President Trump in 2018 and 2019, saw hundreds of thousands of workers furloughed or having to work without pay. This time, he appears to be threatening Democrats with mass layoffs if they can't reach an agreement.
We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like.
The bitter divisions in Washington have real-life impacts across the US, including at national parks, where workers were suspended in the last shutdown.
My fear is that not only will they shut down and they'll just lay them off. Instead of letting them come back to work, they might just say, you know what, we don't need you people, and that's it.
The last government shutdown lasted 35 days, the longest in US history, amid a dispute over Donald Trump's funding for a Mexico border wall. Now Americans are bracing to see what the full impact will be this time around.
Now let's cross over to Washington, D.C., where our correspondent Benjamin Alvarez Gruber is standing by. Benjamin, day one of the shutdown, what are the changes we can expect for both the government and the U.S. citizens?
So every government shutdown is different, but typically the functions that are deemed critical to protect lives and property are essential. They will remain open, so federal agencies, some of them have already released contingency plans detailing what will happen, how many employees will remain on the job. So all of the jobs that are essential, border security, law enforcement, hospitals, air traffic controls are expected to continue to operate as usual. Government employees that are deemed non-essential are temporarily put on unpaid leave. In the past, also with other government shutdowns, these workers have been paid retrospectively, but something that might be impacting for consumers is air travel. Although it will continue during a government shutdown, so passengers can still board flights, go through security as usual, but a trade group representing the country's major airlines warned that the aviation system may need to slow down, also reducing efficiency. So huge losses are expected for the US travel industry during this government shutdown.
Now, both the Republican Party and the Democrats have failed to reach a deal to avoid this shutdown. What were they deadlocked over?
That's right. So Republicans and Democrats are at odds over healthcare spending. The Democrats refuse to back a Republican bill that they say will make it harder for U.S. citizens to afford healthcare. The leaders, Democratic leaders on one side, the Senator Chuck Schumer on the other side, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, demand that any stopgap funding measure also includes an extension of a so-called Obamacare tax credits, which are set to expire, making health insurance for now cheaper for millions of U.S. citizens. And while there's criticism on Republicans and all, the question over how Republicans could not have avoided this shutdown, considering that they control both chambers of Congress. It's important to remind our viewers too that they are short of the 60 votes that they need to actually pass a spending bill. So opposition Democrats have some kind of leverage there too.
Now, President Trump is threatening Democrats with retaliatory measures, as we've just heard, during this shutdown. Do we know what he's planning?
So we're not sure yet what exactly the plans are, and putting this into a context, we have to remind ourselves that budget confrontations are quite common here in US politics, but this spending fight is especially tense. We just heard President Trump there in that piece. He spent several months drastically cutting the size of the national government. He has suggested that this present shutdown could actually give him an opportunity to do more. It's not clear how long this shutdown will last. The last time this happened was in 2019. It was in the first Trump administration. It was 35 days long, so the longest shutdown in history. And there are two main things this could end. Either the Republicans negotiate an extension to this healthcare subsidies that Democrats are demanding, or the shutdown becomes so disruptive that the Democrats actually back down and agree to fund the government. So all eyes here are on Capitol Hill over the next couple of days, as many here in DC know that government shutdowns are easy to get in, but not so easy to get out.
We shall see. DW's correspondent Benjamin Alvarez Gruber there reporting from Washington, D.C. Thank you.